Hello everybody, Ben Rogers here, the Raptors Digest, reacting to some Toronto Raptors news. Riker, the trade deadline is slowly creeping up upon us. We made a little preview for this month of trade prospects and stuff, the weekend with our hour-long pod with Josh that we made, so definitely check that out if you want some more overarching trade deadline news. But we had our first official report come out. Well, we'll talk about how credible these sources are, because it's going around Raptors land, but the Toronto Raptors have interest in trading for Ricky Rubio to potentially replace Kyle Lowry, according to 48 Minutes and Amico Hoops. So we've seen, I never heard much from 48 Minutes. They're a news website, NBA news website, but Amico Hoops we have seen some stuff upon. Not known to be the most credible guys, but it's been going around Raptors land, so we decided we talk about it. Riker, what are your thoughts on this report, this thing coming out? Would you want Ricky Rubio on the Toronto Raptors?
This is the worst, stupidest, dumbest to replace Kyle Lowry. There's no words to even comprehend how dumb that thought is and that train of thought. So I think we can instantly say that this is not credible, because that if they said they're maybe interested in getting Ricky Rubio for a limited amount of assets that have to give up to receive him, to come off the bench, maybe to give a little bit of scoring, then you dig a little bit into his scoring and he's terribly inefficient. To me, I don't want Ricky Rubio. I don't want to trade Kyle Lowry for Ricky Rubio. This is dumb, but we might as well, like you said, break it down, at least entertain this, at least say what could possible scenarios look like where the Raptors look to acquire a Spaniard, pair him next to Sergio. We know how it worked out when we brought Marc Gasol into the team for a year, so maybe there's some arguments to make.
Yeah, and I guess surely there's no chance, there's no way on earth we trade Kyle Lowry straight up for Ricky Rubio. It's not a one-for-one replacement. That's how that tweet was worded. I've seen different reports and stuff, but the idea is Lowry's out and Rubio's in at the point guard position. Maybe it's involved in some sort of 3-team, 4-teams trade extravaganza, because when you look at Rubio's contract, he's making $17 million a year this year, $17 million a year again next year, so it'd be a weird deal, weird sort of prospect to trade for him, even considering our roster makeup, the contracts we have on this team, and he does not give nearly the production of Kyle Lowry, even though I think he's been underrated, underutilized on the Timberwolves. This year, averaging just 8 points per game, 6 assists, which is solid. He's known as a playmaker, he's a great defender in 25 minutes, so as you said, not a good scorer. He's never been known for that, only shooting, I believe, 30% from 3 this season. These numbers are all down from the terrific year he had in Phoenix last year, 13 points, 36% from the three-point line, and 9 assists. So ideally, you think if we brought him into a decent system, he'd be able to flourish, and if Kyle Lowry's gone, he's a guy that you could trust more than a Malachi Flynn or a Terrence Davis if you want to move him to that backcourt position to play along with Fred VanVleet. So I think Norman Powell will be pushed from the small forward to the shooting guard next year if we do lose Kyle Lowry and don't do anything else. But Riker, who are we trading in this situation for that big contract? Because we're not giving up any of those main guys on its own. It would have to be a big deal.
You would think. But even if this team is involved in a big deal, and let's still go under the assumption that Kyle Lowry would most likely be moved in a blockbuster to one of his preferred destinations, championship contending team, likely the 76ers. If you scroll through the search function on Instagram, there's a ton of breaking news that all are reporting now more than ever that the 76ers are interested in acquiring Kyle Lowry. So like you always say, where there's smoke, there's fire. But if you're getting involved in a trade to move Kyle Lowry to the 76ers and your ultimate haul is to get back Ricky Rubio from the Minnesota Timberwolves, you failed your job in the front office. You have done just a terrible job in getting back assets. That's horrible. And I want to make a comparison here. And again, I support bringing in international players. I think it's great for the fan base. I think it's great for the culture of this team. But if we want to just go 2 seasons back, 2018, 2019, what was another promising international player that had even better stats than Ricky Rubio that we were extremely excited about bringing onto the team? Jeremy Lin. And if we look at what he was able to do in the 2-3 seasons before, I mean, obviously he had injuries, everything, but you look at, he was 11 points per game, 14 points per game, similar minutes, similar stat lines on the assist side, right? And he really thoroughly underperformed. Now, I don't want to put Ricky Rubio into the same sort of category as Jeremy Lin. Obviously, they are not the same player. But if I just look at, guys that are kind of just barely there on bad teams, and then you bring them in expecting that they're going to become the bench scorer, become the answer for a team that we're saying really needs a spark coming off the bench, it won't happen. It won't happen. I don't mean to be too pessimistic about it, but Ben, this is not the move. This is not the guy.
Yeah, well, and we're looking at this in the context of having to give up a proper piece, having to actually trade for Ricky Rubio. And that's really the only visible scenario with the roster as constructed. As said, and we constantly bring up the Kyle Lowry. You and I are in agreement. We don't want Lowry moved, right? But the reports, we react to the rumors, we react to the reports, and I think it's all up to Kyle Lowry. If he wants to be moved, he will be moved just because the franchise has that sort of respect for him. So I think all of the reports, all of the context, we have to do it in the context of Kyle Lowry being traded. So we want to clarify, we're not pushing a Kyle Lowry trade, but, in the case that it happens, and Ricky Rubio's trade value, for all the things we mentioned, his stats, his age, his role with the Timberwolves, he just came out and said the Minnesota Timberwolves are directionless and he's on that roster. So that's clearly the voice of a man that wants out. So it looks like he could be on the move, and it's probably why we'll hear more about Ricky Rubio on the trade blocks coming up and teams being interested in him. But since his value is so low, I don't mind him being brought in as a buy low player if we don't have to give up that much. And if we do lose Kyle Lowry and we get pieces back for him, obviously, if we, maybe do that Porzingis deal, I've seen, as you said, the breaking news Instagram report.
People hate the Porzingis deal. I'm shocked, but whatever. We'll leave it at that.
About this, but he's unfollowed the Dallas Mavericks on Instagram, so keep those trade goggles on. Keep lookout. We will. Maybe it would be too much of a slap in the face for the anti-Porzingis guys to make a whole video on him unfollowing that team when the Raptors aren't connected to him, but wanted to throw that in here. But, if we did make a trade for a Porzingis level player or a top tier guy, right, and then we don't have to give up that much to get in Ricky Rubio to be, maybe Fred's backup, maybe a guy that if he's playing well, you start along with Fred and that 2-guard lineup, even though Norm would probably be moved to the shooting guard, OG to his natural position at the 3. It would depend on who we got back in that Lowry trade, how the roster is constructed. But I definitely trust a Ricky Rubio, especially in the short term, over a Malachi Flynn, over Terrence Davis. We talked about in last night's video, even though we recorded it 10 minutes ago, about Terrence Davis' struggles this year. So, Ryker, would you be comfortable with, assuming the cap could work out, assuming all things in a real world situation aligned correctly, and we didn't have to give up more than a maybe Stanley Johnson level player, would you be cool with bringing in a Ricky Rubio at a buy low situation?
I'm still going to say no, because he has 2 years left on his contract. You're not just paying $17 million. Again, salary matching, we're going to just discredit that for a minute, say that you could get rid of a couple of guys, whatever. Whatever you have to take to not feel bad about trading for him or acquiring him in whatever way. But the fact that he has $17 million going into next season as well, how many guys are you going to pay $20 million for and not be a championship team, Ben? That's the issue. You wouldn't be able to move him. His performance is only going down every season, it seems, in Ricky Rubio. That's actually not fair to say. It's dropped off significantly this year. Phoenix, they were slightly better. I think he was good last year. I don't know how good Phoenix was last year. I think that they were like one of those sneaky teams where they were bad, but like the team was good. Yeah. But you know what I'm saying, Ben? Like, You're not going to bring in this guy on $17 million, even if you could trade low, even if you could 1-for-1 Paul Watson and Ricky Rubio, you probably still wouldn't do it for the simple fact that you're stuck with his salary going into next year. Now, if his salary didn't exist and you could trade a deep bench guy and a second-round pick for him, and only have him for this season, then we'd be in the conversation of he wouldn't be terrible on this team. But I'll ask you this. If Terrence Davis, that's the comparison, or Malachi Flynn, whoever, is our consistent bench player, and he's only giving you 8 points a night, would you be happy with that? Because that's all that Ricky Rubio is going to give you in starting minutes is 8 points a night. Not even 7.6.
He had 13 last year. I think Rubio's better than those numbers are showing. And the creation. The thing about Rubio, again, he's not a box score player.
30% from three. Let me cut you off to say that.
36% last year, but I get what you're saying. He hit a lot against us, so that's always in the back of the minds of Raptors GMs or whatever team you're on's GMs. But I don't know. I see where you're coming from, and again, with the contract, it doesn't really make sense. I don't really get where these reports are coming from, but we try to react to everything because we didn't really react to the Kawhi Leonard stuff, so we try to break all that stuff out. My last argument, my last take, I'm throwing it up on the screen. Oh, wrong image. But how clean, how the man's pretty handsome, you know, in a Raptors uniform. I think those threads look pretty good, Riker. I don't know.
I wish I could see what you're saying. You didn't send me the image over text before we started, but I'm gonna say this off the top of my head. He's got a good hair. He's got a nice man bun. He's got a good beard. Yeah, I think he needs to trim the neck part a little bit. That's what I remember thinking when I was watching him play against the Toronto Raptors. But again, I go back to this. Spaniard, international, Sergio Scario. How do you say his name? I'm not even going to try. We're terrible with pronunciations on this podcast. Marc Gasol. There is a legacy of Spanish people coming in and winning as of late on the Toronto Raptors. So for that mere fact alone, I'm not anti-Ricky Rubio, but I'm not pro-Ricky Rubio. That's my take.
Fair. That's fair. And I think, yeah, we align in the same boat, but who knows? Maybe Masai Ujiri can work his magic, find a way where it makes sense. Masai, I think, especially after watching the deep bench get an opportunity in the previous game against the Pistons that obviously you and I just watched, our deep bench hasn't shown a lot of promise. Maybe they can prove us wrong against the Celtics. That will be going on tomorrow night. So we'll see what occurs. We'll see what happens. Maybe we need to bolster the bench with a Rubio, but let us know what you guys think. Let us know if you like the look of Ricky Rubio in a Raptors jersey. Got the new Photoshop template. People always ask why it's number 3 on the jerseys. Always, you know, it's always OG's number. People think I have some conspiracy to trade OG. No, that man's just the most chiseled guy on our team, so it's easy to take his Photoshop and stick it on other people and mold it. So that's the only reason it's OG jersey on other people. It's hard to change numbers. So I don't know. Let us know what you guys think about Ricky Rubio coming to the Toronto Raptors. You guys are the best fans. Check out the Twitter, the Instagram, all that cool stuff, the TikTok, the articles. Riker, you have any last words?
The award for over-explanation goes to you, Ben. I love it, though. It's culture. Cheers.